My name is Greg Moss. I'm a traffic safety researcher with 24 years experience. I'm with the Best Highway Safety Practices Institute. My research can be seen at bhspi.org/MAUZ. I am probably the leading researcher on red light cameras in America. I am working on my 8th camera enforcement report. This was my first report way back in March of 2001. This 96-page report entitled Camera Enforcement Developing the Factual Picture actually preceded Dick Armey's 23-page work by 2.5 months. Anyway, you can check out the rest of the research at the aforementioned website. What I'm here today is to address the multitude of lies that was told to Congress on June 30th, 2010 by several camera promoter groups. They went before the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee they actually had the unmitigated gall to ask for grant money provided by our tax dollars so they could set up more camera programs. Well, I read all their testimony, and I'm here to refute the 5 biggest lies that they told to our congressmen. Lie number 1, there is a national urgent need for camera enforcement. Red light running causes 22% of all urban crashes, and speeding causes 31% of fatalities. All 3 of those statements are absolute lies. Speeding causes less than 2% of all crashes and less than 5% of fatalities. Red light violations cause only 2% of all fatalities nationally and no more than 4% in any giant urban area. You can check it all out in my research, Camera Enforcement, 5 Big Lies. Also, what they failed to mention was that right turns on red, which they are now targeting, which they promised they wouldn't target back in the 1990s when I was already fighting these cameras. They promised they would never target right turns on red. Anyway, right turns on red cause only 0.037% of all crashes. In other words, less than 1/10 of 1% of all crashes. But in places like LA County, California, they account for 80% of the tickets. So anyway, lie number 2, the people want cameras. That's funny. They come up with these polls that they manipulate saying 75% of the public likes red light cameras and 52% of the public likes speed cameras and they want them and all this stuff. That's absolute nonsense. I just got one thing to say about that. 16 and 0. The people, 16. Camera companies, 0. There's been 16 voter referendums throughout the United States, and cameras have never won any of them, and that's why camera promoters are very afraid of a voter referendum and go through all kinds of gyrations to prevent that from happening. Lie number 3. Cameras are constitutionally correct, or they don't violate your rights. That is absolute nonsense. There's been about a dozen court decisions in about 6 different states, and also about a half a dozen attorney general decisions, again in about 5 or 6 different states, all showing that red light cameras and speed cameras as well are illegal because they violate your rights to due process, face your accusers, illegally reverse the burden of proof from state to defendant, deny your right to a fair trial, and they violate, and according to the court in South Dakota, they violate your right, they violate the 14th Amendment, which is your federal guarantee that the states cannot violate your due process rights. So Congress is supposed to be stopping these cameras because they violate our rights. Where's the Attorney General? Where's the FBI? Where's Congress? Where's the Federal Trade Commission on this issue? They're turning a blind eye because Too many people are making money off of this. This is an $8 billion a year industry. Lie number 4, there's an epidemic of scofflaws and red light runners and speeders all over the place trying to crash into you and kill you. That is just absolute nonsense. There's actually an epidemic of illegal engineering malpractice going on in the United States. The ITE admitted this in 2004 by grading themselves a D. The Federal Highway Administration admitted there was a epidemic of underposting speed limits in their speed limit survey in 27 states over a 5-year period. So what the problem is there's not enough yellow time. The only way cameras can survive and make enough money for all those who are connected to the money stream, and there's lots of people connected to the money stream, the only way they can make enough money is through illegally short yellows and illegally underposted speed limits. That's the only way the cameras can write enough tickets to produce the money they want. Anyway, here's the kinematic model of the Institute of Transportation Engineers minimum yellow intervals, and even these proper yellows are riddled with admitted problems. For example, they're dry weather only. They don't include trucks. They don't include the elderly. They don't include handicapped people or disabled people. You know, there's all kinds of problems with these times, and to enforce these times, and 70% of the tickets written are for less than 1 second into the red, which is not dangerous and not deliberate, but it's entrapment through short yellow timings. And despite these minimums, there's been multitudes of cities caught with less than these minimums, for way less than these minimums. For example, they found speed limits approach speeds of 45 and 50 in a lot of Texas cities had 3.6 seconds of yellow instead of the 4.3 or the 4.7. And I have over 26 cities in my report listed that were caught with illegal yellow times, including Chicago, one of the biggest offenders. So the whole deal is really entrapment for profit. It's got nothing to do with people obeying the lights. People, if you don't have enough yellow to light, you can't obey it. And Representative Loudermilk pointed out from Georgia that that when they added 1 second to these yellow times and required it by law, most of the cameras in 12 Georgia cities came down because, to put it frankly, honest yellows are kryptonite to dishonest cameras. Lie number 5, cameras save lives. This is a heinous lie because the exact opposite is true. There are more than 40 studies showing that cameras cause more crashes, injuries, and fatalities. You can check out my research. Camera enforcement charting a catastrophic failure. There are 40 studies in this report and the websites to most of them. You can check it out. Even the camera promoters' own studies show that cameras cause more crashes, injuries, and fatalities. They just lie about the results and the interpretation of the studies. Here's 10 random cities here, as you can see, and check it out. Houston was done by camera promoters, and still they had a 100% increase of all crashes. Philadelphia was done by camera promoters. They still had a 35% increase in injuries. And you know, the average of these 10 random cities shows a 41% increase in angle crashes, which the cameras are supposed to prevent, and the 100% increase in rear end collisions, 55% increase of all crashes, and a 79% increase of injuries. People are being injured and killed for government and corporate profits, and it's not right, and personal profits. It's not right. It needs to stop. The President, the Attorney General, and Congress, you're supposed to protect our constitutional rights and enforce the 14th Amendment and bring this thing down, bring these cameras down throughout the country. This was done in Italy. They were brought down in Italy because of fraud, the same kind of frauds they're perpetrating in our country. And we also need to lengthen yellow times by over 1 second apiece. For example, 3 seconds should not be the minimum yellow. It should be 4 seconds. There is research out there that shows that some people take more than 2 seconds for perception reaction time alone. So how are they going to stop in less than a second? So 4 seconds should be the minimum. We need to turn on reds from a stop to a yield because of all this abuse that's going on, and besides, a yield is all that's necessary. We also need to set proper 85th percentile speed limits. These things will actually increase safety. 1 second in yellow actually reduces violations by 40 to 80%. Representative Loudermilk's testimony to Congress and the Georgia House Bill 77 proved that. The cameras cannot live with honest yellows. So the whole enforcement deal is based on a fraud. It has to be an illegally short yellow or an unethically short yellow to write the tickets. So let's work together to rid this fraud out of our country. And I want to urge all Americans to get involved in this and do something about it. You can contact. You can check out my research at bhspi.org/MAUZ. You can Google my name, GREGMAUZ. You can even call me. That's how serious I am about doing this. I'm at 325-896-2595. So, and any of you camera promoters that want to, talk smack behind my back, I have this to say to you. Face me in an open forum, public debate with the national media present, and we'll get to the bottom of what the truth is on this issue. You guys know you've been ducking me. I gave you an official challenge before, certified mail, and none of y'all took it up because you got something to hide and I don't. So don't try to pretend this is about safety anymore. You know for a fact it's not.